Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins, filling in. Thrilled to be here with you. Chad is back after the holiday weekend. A happy almost Labor Day to the people out there. I want to immediately get to some of the conversations that took place yesterday regarding the Texas abortion law and then some of the follow-up conversations to it, mostly because of this interaction Jen Psaki had with a male reporter, because I think at the end, and I saw a lot of these tweets, a lot of these thoughts on social media, Jen did something that I didn't think woke people were allowed to do. She assumed somebody's gender, which was terrible. Let's get to it.
Following up on the Texas law, why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Why does the president, who does he believe then should look out for the unborn child?
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions, and up to a woman to make those decisions with her doctor. I know you've never faced those choices.
No!
Nor have you ever been pregnant.
Oh!
But for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing. The president believes their rights should be respected.
How does she know? He's not a birth-giving person. How does she know that? I saw that reaction on social media. I do think at times we probably overly talk about some of those issues, but it is hilarious that how could you know so quickly?
Doctor, I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant.
She gets angry sometimes, Jen Psaki does, and I don't think she hides it as much as some other people did in that role. I don't know why. And as far as the whole conversation about the Texas law goes, I'm actually just going to move on to another expert that talked here. This is Alan Dershowitz. Obviously the legal expert, lawyer. He was on Newsmax talking about this. Twice he shifted the conversation to another example. The first time they kind of tried to pull him back on message. So I have the first part of the conversation, then I jumped to the second part as well. But he kept trying to compare the abortion law and then some of the actual ways in which they execute that law in Texas to gay marriage. And if Texas decided, or anyone in the country, not that anyone would, decided to enforce a law in that world, or any, honestly, world in a similar fashion, there'd probably be challenges. Here we go.
So what should we be looking at? What's important to know about this?
Well, I think it's so unconstitutional. I don't even know where to begin. The idea of giving individuals the right to enforce the law. I think that even conservative justices, certainly Roberts and certainly I think Kavanaugh, will say that the mechanism that Texas has selected, forgetting about abortion, right, the mechanism that Texas has selected, allowing individual Budinskis, individual busybodies to say, we don't like what's going on in an abortion clinic. We have nothing to do with it. We don't know the people. We have no knowledge of it, is exactly the same as if two gay people were getting married. Okay. And but you say, we don't like gay marriage. And so we're going to interfere. So I think the Supreme Court will strike down that mechanism as in violation of the constitutional obligation of government to enforce the law and not to turn it over to surrogate busybody.
So an interesting avenue in this conversation for me does go beyond this certain situation. As I said, actually, the other day, as of right now, the Supreme Court themselves kind of also punted on having that conversation now. What they actually ruled on was that they will wait to rule later, essentially, by saying some of the legalese in the Texas law wasn't something they were getting involved with now, but they were allowing lower courts, any courts, to do it. They did not rule on the constitutionality of the law, essentially. But here's the thing, and it is that conversation that Alan Dershowitz is having about the execution, right? And so often now in politics, I see something happen on one side of the aisle, and I go, well, I wonder how the other side is going to utilize that new strategy. We do this all the time for whatever reason. The way in which we're redoing budgets right now, we're like, well, we're going to pass a bill that says one thing, but then as soon as that bill's out there, since we have a majority, we can just do something a little bit different in the financial side of things legally, and then we can spend a whole bunch more money. So this bill becomes this bill, and boom, good work, everyone wins. In the world of infrastructure, that's how Democrats are treating it right now. And obviously that's flawed thinking. In the impeachment move, I actually saw a lovely Babylon Bee article that said Nancy Pelosi moves to impeach Trump over Afghanistan failings, even though, of course, that would be impossible. I wouldn't have put it past her if this had occurred that way. And so, again, you saw the impeachment thing time and again while Trump was in office. And now you're seeing Republicans call for Biden to be impeached over Afghanistan and a lot more investigations that need to occur there. And now you got this. You got a law in Texas that essentially decides to hand enforcement to people. And it doesn't really matter what it's about. The idea that people would enforce law is incredibly unconstitutional, as I found and as Alan Dershowitz points out. And more than anything, it's probably dangerous. It's probably dangerous in the sense that what other place, and I don't mean this specifically as far as a conservative or a Democratic notion. I mean, think of it as if AOC got in charge of this kind of thing and told us that anyone who uses gas too much has to be, fined and $10,000 thrown in the bucket that way to get the Green New Deal off the ground. There's so many scenarios in which we don't want to see our society in a world where we expect other people and not, and again, maybe this actually also kind of speaks to the left for just a second. Defund the police is essentially the same thought process, right? Get rid of police officers and then let human beings kind of fend for themselves out there and trust their neighbors to do things a certain way. That's the same basic idea. Remove the system, and then with the system not in place, go ahead and utilize on-the-ground people, community kind of solutions to the problem. Now, I know that they're very different issues, one very much on one side of the aisle, one very much on the other side of the aisle, but it's the same basic thinking, and we see it failing in so many other places. We see removement of the structure that exists to actually do something better as obviously more beneficial than when it doesn't exist, certainly in the case of defund the police. All right, I want to move on to one other thing. Tremendously amused. I am a fan of Chris Mad Dog Russo. I do remember the old show back in the day, and I did very much enjoy some of the rants. Mad Dog got mad, which is just, I guess, an oxymoron. But because the U.S. Open is requiring, and ESPN and a few other sports organizations, requiring their announcers at the tennis tournament to wear a mask while broadcasting, tremendously difficult. Mad Dog had one of his classic rants about it.
Did you know if you were a broadcaster today on ESPN, if you did the matches, because it was indoor because of the rain, and this is the New York City rule about the health protocols with COVID, indoor, Ash and Armstrong were closed, that you had to wear a mask? So if you called, how the hell can you call a tennis match at a 23,000 seat stadium with a mask on? I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't want to get into mask, no mask, this, that, and the other, because then we're going to get into this political debate, and that's not what this show's about. But that's ridiculous. And you know why it's ridiculous? Because the player box people didn't have masks on.
Okay. Such a fantastic point. The player box people, the guests of the players, are sitting there courtside. They have no masks on at all. And you have broadcasters trying to communicate the action of the game to an audience that have to do it through a mask.
So in other words, the guys who are calling a match, male and female, got to wear a mask. Yet the people sitting in the players' box rooting for their person to play the match this afternoon, Halep's people and whoever she played, forget who she played, their people, no masks on. I'm not sure if the Halep people have the masks, but the other opponent had the masks on. But, since the USTA's got no guts, go there and make if you're going to make ESPN wear the masks, make the folks sitting there courtside rooting for the tennis players today, make them wear masks. Why they don't have to wear masks? So the announcer does, and the other, come on, be consistent. Be consistent. That's de Blasio. He's lost.
I love the end of that, by the way, because so many people, well beyond a conversation about the U.S. Open or about wearing masks in that one scenario, would say the same sentiment in their daily life. Somebody dropping off their kids at school, telling the kid to put a mask on when the teacher's not wearing one, would probably be like...
So the announcer does, and the other... come on, be consistent.
Be consistent.
That's de Blasio. He's lost.
I love that audio. We're going to take a break. After the break, Abba has reunited. They have a brand new album, new music coming out. I got a tease of that. A lot more. This is Craig Collins filling in on The Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Thrilled to have you with us. I will not be here after the holiday. Chad will be back after the holiday weekend. Here is Abba. They are back. They have new music. They have a new tour coming up. Here we go. Tell me if you feel like this is the same old band you know and love.
And now you see another me, I've been reloaded there. I'm fired up, don't shut me down. I'm like a dream within a dream that's been decoded. I'm fired up, I'm not, don't shut me down. I'm not the one you knew. I'm now the men combined, and I'm asking you to.
Okay. That sounds pretty much like the band we all remember, correct? I think it does. That's a pretty interesting debut song that I just caught a glimpse of a little while ago. And I know there's a lot more out there. I know there's going to be, I believe, a tour of some kind. So they're back. And I imagine a lot of people tremendously excited. I can't help but mention my own family and my mother, who's such a big fan that I had to go see Mamma Mia twice. I don't know why we had to go back the second time to see Mamma Mia on Broadway, but we did, and, it's fine. That's a fun thing. But this is nice, just feel-good music. And I think this band is a perfect band for the world we're all in right now, to be entirely honest. Moving on, other stories in the news. 30% of us have triple screened in the past month. What do you ask is a triple screen? That's when you use your phone, a computer, and the TV at the same time. I don't know if you're fully paying attention to all three. I imagine, well, that's probably impossible, so it's a no. I imagine the TV's just on in the background. Maybe you're doing something on the computer, and maybe for some amount of time you get distracted by your phone via a text. I don't know what it would be, but a new poll sound that said that 72% of young people have triple screened in their lives. 40% of us worry about our phone addiction, and 30% have done it triple screen, that is, within the last month. So that is something else as far as the ability for people to multitask. I don't think I'm there right now, but that's fine. That's me. I want to move on again to other news. Something else that I thought was tremendously interesting and somewhat humorous that I found. I hope you feel the same way. I know she doesn't, though. A woman had a breast reduction surgery. She is in her 20s, and she was mystified when, it didn't take. It did work, but things wound up growing back. Hold on. Let me make sure that you can hear this audio as easily as I can hear it right now, because I'm having a little bit of a technical issue. All right, let's go. Here she is.
So I was 22 when I got my breast reduction, and my boobs grew back by the time I was 23. They started growing back after about 3 months, and by 8 months post-op, they were pretty much back to the size that they were.
I don't know what you say to that. I don't know what the boyfriend says to that situation. I don't know how the family, others react. I guess she was a size E, which is something I'd never heard of, by the way. Oh, no, okay, fine. I've heard of it. And she had reduced down to a C, but she's on her way back to an E. That is other news out there in the world. Shifting gears one more time, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to move on from that story. I saw this and thought it was pretty interesting. Scottish people can't say a phrase, and for whatever reason, the internet is now obsessed with Scottish people attempting to say a phrase. The phrase is purple burglar alarm. For whatever reason, that's something that can't be pronounced for people from there.
There's some Scottish people that kind of say purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm, burglar, purple burglar.
I don't know if we're laughing in a way that's okay or not okay. They're the ones putting this up on social media. I feel like this is all right. Let's continue.
Say purple burglar alarm.
Purple burglar alarm. Purple burglar alarm.
Say no.
Say it.
Purple burglar alarm.
Say it properly.
Purple burglar alarm.
Purple.
There we go.
Burglar alarm.
I mean, I can laugh at this. This is kind of interesting to hear, but my wife is from Mexico, and I try my darndest every so often to speak Spanish words and phrases and things that I know I am not fluent in the language, much to the dismay of most of her family. But I try, and I think that I butcher things all the time. So I think we're laughing with not at in this scenario. I just think it's quite interesting that for whatever reason, this is a viral trend on social media. And this happens fairly frequently. I think the world of social media finds, whether it's people of a certain age or certain whatever that can't say things, and then they just go rogue there. So I don't want to get any hate mail, is what I'm saying. I don't want anyone to say that I'm not being woke enough because of this. In other news, shifting gears to, I guess, something a tad more serious. The QAnon shaman, as he's known, Jacob Chansley is his name, is going to actually enter a plea deal of guilty. He's going to plead guilty and enter into a deal. He would like for people to stop calling him that, the QAnon shaman. He would like to be known as Jacob at this point. The only reason I bring this story up at all is I think it's interesting as you talk about the January 6th commission, and Liz Cheney is out there saying she's getting to the root cause, the truth of everything going on, that the people who were responsible for the crimes that were committed are being held accountable. The individuals involved are people that are finding themselves in courtrooms, that are finding themselves, in need of doing things like this, pleading guilty to the things they're being accused of. I don't know why the narrative and why the quest right now so much is to hold those accountable as if they're not actually being held accountable. And there's no better case than this guy because of how high profile he is. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, by the way, the QAnon shaman is the dude that was shirtless. He was wearing face paint. He had a fur hat on with long horns, and he was carrying a spear on the events that happened on January 6th. So that individual became pretty much the poster photo for a lot of the conversations out there. He actually has many viral images in several of the sorting sites, including Getty Images. If you put in, QAnon even, but if you put in several different things about that day into an image search, if you're doing that for whatever reason, you're going to find him relatively quickly. This is just yet another of the many people who are involved in court cases about this day. So I do implore maybe our politicians, although they won't listen, or anyone to focus on these cases, these conversations about that day, and not just whether or not Trump deserves specific blame, which is the only conversation that they're interested in having in a political space. And I'm not trying to say, that I'm defending or not defending any of that. I feel like we're done there. It's all already been, tried and attempted and everything else that we've seen as far as impeachment and whatnot. So why not focus on these stories instead? Craig Collins filling in. A lot more Chad Benson Show coming up.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Chad will be back next week after the much-deserved holiday weekend. Lots and lots going on in the news, though. I saw this. This amused me a lot. Now, I just said that I'm filling in for Chad Benson, so I get the fill-in game. I get the when you're called and the regular is out, you got to jump in. But Ray Arroyo should not have been on Fox News last night based on his voice. And you can hear the exchange with Sean Hannity as they're passing the torch. And I think that Sean almost immediately was like, nah, we shouldn't do this.
Ray Arroyo, filling in for Laura tonight. Ray, how are you, sir?
Thank you, Sean. I'm a little froggy tonight. Listen to this voice.
What happened to your voice?
I don't know, but we'll
You're filling in for
through.
Laura, and you got a sore throat.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Typical.
It sounds. Let me guess. It sounds worse than you feel.
Yes, I feel great.
I just love, even when he tries to throw inflection in there.
Yes, I feel great.
I feel great. I feel so happy to be here. I mean, if I did that once, I'm sure that producer Phil would fire me within the first segment. I would just be done. It would be over. And I know radio is a little different than television, but I think you need a voice to be on these things. He kept speaking. He did. I'm not going to play the whole show. I want the rest of the interaction.
Okay. By the way, it happens to me. Anytime I get any sickness, it goes right for the vocal cords. Hang in there, my friend. I've been there.
Thank you. I'm Raymond Arroyo in for Laura Ingraham tonight.
I'm so excited. I so enjoyed it. I shouldn't have enjoyed it. But again, as I said, I'm a guy who understands the fill-in game. I understand you don't want to say no to any of that work because, that work's important. But I think you should have. In this, I don't think this was the right move. And you might not get asked back now because you can never trust Ray as to whether or not he's sick someday. You're like, hey, Laura needs a fill-in. Can you make it work? Yeah, I'll be right there. Don't. I'm sorry. I'm probably just laughing at somebody. I don't know how sick he is. He said he was fine, though. He said he was feeling great. In other news, just sweeping across the talking head stations a little bit, I saw a CNN reporter talking to a guy in New Orleans who had bribed electricians to fix the power lines outside his house by giving them jambalaya and fish. It was fantastic to see how happy this guy was when he was like, yeah, I got him working on my power line, my pole right outside here. I just had to feed him.
Hey, look, guys, I'll find some fish and make you some jambalaya to get my pole straight.
So the reason they're here is because you flagged a pickup truck.
Absolutely.
And got these guys here.
Absolutely, I did, man. Come on.
Hey, look, guys, I'll find some fish and make you some jambalaya to get my pole straight.
Come on, fix it out. Let's do it. Let's get it done. I love that story, too. All right. Now I should probably turn to some more serious things, even though I guess I don't want to. No, but I will. Okay, we're going to do this. This is for you. I'm telling you these stories now because they're important and they're for you, even though I would rather play more silly audio. Jen Psaki avoided questions about the Taliban, including a very interesting question about Australia and their involvement. I thought this was an intriguing back and forth because the reporter, obviously from Australia, seems to have a different opinion as to how much communication existed between our country and theirs leading up to our withdrawal. And Jen Psaki eventually seems to claim that she knows more than the reporter does, which could be true. But I feel like, and I'll play this audio for you in a second, at the very end, you'll notice, as I did, that maybe Jen's wrong.
The Taliban spokesman told an Australian news network that the 41 Australians who died in the war in Afghanistan died in May. During this time, the Australian government found out about the withdrawal date change through media reporting. We weren't included on the list from Secretary of State Antony Blinken of countries called on the final day, August 31. Does the Taliban have a point?
I mean, that's as harshly asked of a question as you can ask, by the way. Does the Taliban have a point?
Does the Taliban have a point?
Wow. So here's Jen Psaki telling you, I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
We have sacrificed a lot for this alliance, and including the lives of 41 Australians, and we've been left seemingly out of the loop during this withdrawal process. There hasn't been high-level communication with the Australian government during this time.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that we have not engaged with the Australian government. We have worked with our partners around the world to evacuate individuals from a range of countries around the world.
I think it's interesting that she immediately turns to the evacuation part of the conversation, too, to be honest, because that's not the same as informing a country and the military that aided you during that 20-year war that you are removing your forces. That is not the same as offering to help evacuate people. I don't know what conversations were had specifically, though, of course. But here's the last part of the interaction that really sold me on the idea that Jen is assuming and not really aware of facts.
But I would be very shocked if we had not been in touch with and engaged with. So what I was asking you for clarification on was question about the 31st and a call on the 31st. I'm not sure what that would be a reference to.
That Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, gave at the withdrawal, at the end of the conflict, the last slide. He listed through all these different countries that he called at the end of that, and Australia wasn't on the list.
I can certainly ask the State Department when their most recent diplomatic conversations were with Australian leaders.
It's not usually a good answer to be like, I can check on that after I've already told you that I know that you're lying. Now I'm going to go ahead and just ask some other people to make sure. But that is Jen Psaki fielding a question about whether or not we informed our military allies of our operation. It didn't seem like we knew what we were doing, so I would not be terribly surprised if they didn't know either. Other news certainly continued to be talked about. The kids, the people who have been left behind. There are now several reports of students being left behind in Afghanistan that need to somehow get out of the country without any military presence from us. That's going to be intriguing as to how that's done. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby was asked about leaving people behind in general, and his answer was, we're still working on it, even though we have no more military presence.
You know, as someone who has served and had the honor to serve with Afghans, we're taught from basic training on up. The number one thing we're taught is you do not leave your man behind. Now, how can the Department of Defense go before the American people, those military service members, and those veterans and say that the mission was accomplished when people were left behind?
I think, Trace, we've been very clear that we don't believe the effort has concluded. The military mission of evacuation is over.
That sounds like the whole thing's over. I know that we're still doing things and still working with, say, the Taliban, to get some of this done, but it's not anywhere near the same as obviously it was just a little while ago when we had a presence there. All right, one more comment on this conversation. I thought it was also interesting to talk about an action report. This is something that obviously occurs a lot in the world of military. After any operation, they go back through what they did, what they chose to do, and what they could have done differently, and they create an action report. There have been some other conversations, not by John Kirby, seeming to indicate that maybe this would be made public. I'm not saying that anyone's actually said that, but that by bringing it up in a public sense, it feels as though this information would eventually be provided to at least the media, because why tell them about it at all for those that aren't familiar with this part of the process?
Action reports that the Secretary yesterday said would be done with humility and transparency, and General Milley kept alluding to. Has a process been started yet to do a formal after-action report? And what will be the topics? Will it be how I'll include the broad topics and the evacuation?
Yeah, Tony, I'm not aware of a formal process here, so I can't speak to a report. It is, as you well know, common practice for us to do after-action reports on almost everything that we do. So I have full expectations that as a department, we will take the time to go back and look at this operation, as the Secretary said, and try to learn lessons from it. Now, whether that's produced in a formal report that makes public, that's made public, I can't attest to that right.
I can't attest to that right now, because the odds of us ever putting this out in public are they have to be zero. Again, I just played you audio a bit ago from an Australian reporter wondering if we even informed some of our military allies of what we were doing, and now we're wondering if we're ever going to see that report hit the light of day. The answer is 100% no. Shifting gears again, I like this story a lot. Parents dropped their kid off at college. A lot of parents are doing that right now, but they had a special gift so that their daughter would not forget about them during her first years in college. They provided her with a unique set of blanket and pillow, a unique a bed set. The entire set was just photos of them. The blanket is a photo of mom and dad together smiling, like it's a Christmas card photo. And then the pillows are individually mom and dad. And they just left that on her bed at the old dorm to be like, look at this. Look at how nice we are. The photo went viral on social media. A lot of people said what a great sport the kid is for posing in the photo and letting that be her first day at school. I can't imagine how any new roommates or anyone reacted to seeing that happen and wondering what the semester is going to be like. And I will also tell this just to those parents, if they need to know, that bedding was immediately removed after you left. It may have been incinerated. At the very least, it's packed now in the car on the way home or wherever she can store it. It is not something she will be using at any point moving forward. But it's a pretty hilarious photo out there in social media. I'll put it up on Facebook.com/The Craig Collins Show. We'll try to get it on their social media so you can see it. Novel way to try to make the kids still think about mom and dad while experiencing college life. A quick break, a lot more. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter @Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
This is The Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Chad back after the holiday. The jobs report is out. It's been out all day today, and it is terrible. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. As far as actually creation of new jobs is concerned, expectation, 720,000 new jobs. Reality, 235,000 new jobs. The unemployment number did continue to drop. 5.2% now is the unemployment rate. That was in line with expectations. But the Delta variant is what is already being talked about a lot today as the most probable cause of this huge slowdown in the world of the job market. I think that there's a lot of valuable conversations to be had. Obviously, as we get to the very end of the enhanced unemployment benefits, and I know that a lot of states had already ended those unemployment benefits, but now everybody will relatively shortly. But as you talk about all these things, just thinking about the insecurity that could exist in our society because of the ways that we're managing society. It might not even be, that this person now feels less safe than they did a month ago going out to the grocery store. Businesses could be tremendously concerned about the impact of masks being a common occurrence again, or something else, or even, the potential to start forcing vaccines on employees throughout the country, and whether or not those things will actually cause a downturn or not in our economy. Obviously, this all impacts the Federal Reserve quite significantly as well, as they try to really contemplate how many of these stimulus things, the massive stimulus efforts, they will pull back on that they've been doing for quite some time. So there's a lot of conversations, a lot of value coming out of this. And I think, and I will continue to believe with every part of my tinfoil hat that what is going on right now in certain parts of our country, as far as mask or vaccine proof requirement, it is just designed to get everybody to vaccine that hasn't. If you haven't vaxxed up yet, they want you to do it. And this is the latest attempt to try to push us that way. There's several new reports that say cloth masks are not all that great. There's actually a new study, too, that says surgical masks, the ones that you would wear, the KN95, the N95, the ones that you'd wear, obviously, in the profession, those ones are valuable. There's a brand new study, real-world study, demonstrated that these kind of masks can help prevent the spread of virus and prevent the spread of even the Delta variant, but they're not something that is going to be widely available to all Americans, and certainly not in the disposable fashion in which they're utilized in the healthcare profession. So we have challenges here that don't have easy solutions, and the impacts we often forget. We often overlook the way in which, and I think this is just the world of politics more than anywhere else, how doing this, saying this, acting this way, even just the heightened conversation about Delta variant all the time, everywhere you go. I know that it's important to talk about it here, as we are right now, but every time I turn on the TV, anytime I'm anywhere, it's one of the biggest conversations, and I imagine that impacts our society as a whole. It impacts, people looking for jobs, as well as employers that are thinking about if they're going to continue to operate in the fashion they expect to operate in, or if they have to already plan for more bad than good. Jennifer Aniston, totally shifting gears to something very different, has hinted that she's going to create her own beauty brand. Lola V, I guess is what it's called. This is, in some ways, people are saying a response to the Gwyneth Paltrow Goop brand. The Friends star 52 hasn't really provided a lot of details right now, but she has created at least a website. Lola V's website shows test tubes filled with bamboo, lemons, and water, perhaps hinting at all-natural skincare products. So there you go. Right at a time when I'm saying that a lot of jobs aren't being created, apparently Jennifer Aniston trying to fix that. She's making some in her world. Other things in the news, is there a biological basis for instant attraction? Scientists have been looking into this. They utilize mice, which I don't know how valuable that is. The University of Maryland School of Medicine has demonstrated that genetic variations in your brain can actually influence people that you'd want to be friends with or people that you might have other attractions to. The investigation of mice found a specific protein, one that plays a role in mood and motivation, and the way in which it works for you might be part of the cause of that. So when anyone asks you, with all the negative stuff in the news, and I guess if you're looking for something positive, scientists might have proven that love at first sight is real, even though people all the time say it's not. Maybe this is one good thing that scientists gave us. All right, I want to shift gears again. There is a dentist who's going to offer free cleanings to anyone who can beat him at a video game. The video game is Super Smash Brothers. The dentist is a little bit younger, but I do think that this is hilarious. Here is some video talking about it.
Do you have what it takes to beat me in Smash? Go against me on a one-on-one. If you win, you get a free dental cleaning. If you lose, you have to tell the whole world that you lost to a dentist.
I'm sorry. The last part of that's the most amusing to me, because I don't know that I've ever thought of dentists as guys that can't play video games, but he seems to think that there's a huge stigma there.
You have to tell the whole world that you lost to a dentist.
Boom! You lost to a dentist at Super Smash Brothers. The guy is in Massachusetts. He is offering, as I said, the free dental cleanings, probably just to gain attention, and it's working because I noticed it and thought it was interesting. I just love the idea of maybe making them play the video game against you when they're already in the dental chair with all the apparatuses in your face. Like, I feel like that's the part he's not saying. Not only are you going to do the Smash Brothers, But you also have to be sitting there. You have a few different things. Maybe he's going to do some suction into the old face as you're dealing with trying to beat him. And maybe in that regard, not many people will win. I do think that would be a viral video, though. So if they are looking for one more idea in the world of this, I would go ahead with that one. All right, one more thing. I know we got to take a break in a minute. This is going to be relatively quick. Sarah Paulson, the actor, said that she's no longer going to wear fat suits to portray people that are not the same weight as her. As an actress, she regrets actually wearing one for an upcoming TV show. She thinks that maybe people shouldn't do that anymore. I don't know how to respond to her feeling there, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone, but isn't that what acting is? Isn't acting portraying people that you're not? If we have to start casting people that look identical to the people they're portraying in every way, shape, or form, like we've been talking about time and again, then I don't know how we'll ever have any famous actors or actresses. We'll just have people that can pull off one character because they look almost exactly like them. Or maybe that's just who they are as a person. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm not judging Sarah, that this would be the antithesis of acting to walk away from some of this stuff. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Chad will be back after the holiday. There's a new Reuters report that said several people inside this administration, inside the government in general, are all pointing fingers at each other as far as to the failure that was the withdrawal in Afghanistan. Current and former officials and lawmakers said that they see no appetite from the president to demote, fire, nothing. Nothing will occur, no punishment of any kind to those that screwed up. But some insiders are saying a failure like this is a collective. Everybody would have screwed up. There would have been massive levels of problems. It wouldn't be on any one individual. They also said that finger pointing is an ugly Washington sport. In this case, fingers could potentially be pointed in all directions. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward now, as we're still dealing with a lot of different kind of surprising stories in the world of the people that are still left there, still trapped there. There is this story about kids that are still trapped there from California. I'll play a little bit of it.
And more students from California still stranded in Afghanistan. A Sacramento school district reports now that 27 students and some of their family members have not been able to leave the country. The district has a refugee support team working with the Afghan community to get those families back home. One family from San Diego, in fact, remains trapped in the country as well.
Yeah, they say screwed up, and that's an obvious demonstration of that. And people do need to get fired. There do need to be jobs that are no longer held here. And whether it's military leaders or political leaders, I know that a lot of people are saying Biden himself should be impeached. And I don't know. We need more information. We need a more in-depth investigation. But if no one loses their gig, as this Reuters report is saying, that there's no appetite to really demote or punish anybody, then the profound level to which this administration misunderstands maybe public perception on this thing, if not the actual failure of this thing, is incredible. There definitely needs to be, in my opinion, just repeating again, some people who answer to the problem that is this whole situation. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, was also asked if the Taliban is holding up their end of whatever agreement that they've been asked now and still to make. And that's probably step one right there in any investigation, any kind of pointing fingers as to who is wrong. You just have to have the person who decided the Taliban deserve to be trusted moving forward with us in this way raise their hand right now, because I know it's one thing, and I know that some people hearing me say that might think back to a peace agreement that was made by a previous administration. But there's a tremendous difference in putting some things on paper and actually expecting them in execution when you're seeing it not occur. when you're seeing the country be taken back over, when you're hearing these stories of people that are already being brutally murdered now by the Taliban, you wonder, are they doing what they say they're supposed to be doing, and where does the fault lie in us thinking they would do that?
Thank you. And then I want to get to the Taliban and questions of whether it's keeping its promise for amnesty. There was some reporting from the BBC, some color from that story. Since the Taliban came to power, one man said they haven't stopped killing. A few days ago, this person said they killed 12 members of special forces in Kandahar, 3 soldiers in Jalalabad as well. The Taliban took them out of their homes and shot them. Given this kind of reporting that we're hearing, is it possible that our reliance on the Taliban to keep their word in terms of our evacuation is misplaced with going back on things like the amnesty promise?
Well, first, I don't have any confirmation of those details. I'm not questioning the BBC's reporting. I just don't have any confirmation of them from the U.S. government.
You know, I have to stop it there. In the press briefing by Jen Psaki that she had recently, almost every answer to every challenging question is, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not aware. No one's told me anything. How is this a valuable version of conversation right now? And the BBC, certainly a trusted news organization. So to go to the road that we don't have any information and maybe I need to point you to someone else who knows more about it is about as disturbing as it possibly gets in this conversation. Because, again, it's still that same demonstration of an inept way of understanding or handling any of this. And we just lack details that are pretty basic and pretty obvious in this world normally. For some reason, we don't have them. I want to play this audio. The Pentagon spokesperson, John Kirby, being asked by someone who has served in the military if it was wrong to leave a lot of people behind, if that's against the mindset of military, even operations to begin with.
You know, as someone who has served and had the honor to serve with Afghans, we're taught from basic training on up. The number one thing we're taught is you do not leave your man behind. Now, how can the Department of Defense go before the American people, those military service members and those veterans, and say that the mission was accomplished when people were left behind?
I think, Trace, we've been very clear that we don't believe the effort has concluded. The military mission of evacuation is over.
But no, we're still doing stuff. We're still talking to the Taliban. Don't worry, it's still getting figured out. In other news, I saw this trending on social media. Ruth Ginsburg obviously passed away. Obviously, a lot of people were very big fans of her and talked about her a lot in those same social media platforms. It seems that some of those fans may now be blaming her for the problem that is the Texas abortion law conversation. Apparently, people in social media are saying they wish that the now deceased Ruth Bader Ginsburg had actually stepped down while Obama was still in office so that Obama could have appointed someone to the Supreme Court that would have prevented the decision to do nothing, again, as far as the Texas law is concerned. The Supreme Court, as of right now, has not actually overturned Roe versus Wade or any of the things you might be seeing on social media. They chose to essentially get into kind of a legalese version of a conversation and say, come back to us with more information or challenge this in other courts, not ours, as far as that lawsuit is concerned. But several people are now saying that it is somehow a no longer with us former Supreme Court justice's problem, or I can't even understand that because I recall, of course, the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg last year and the amount of praise and the conversations that were had in all these different platforms about her. And I'm not taking away from any of those. I'm just so surprised that now, less than a year later, just about a year later, people now have this kind of a take on her. Apparently, you can never be, free from any sort of criticism from the woke social media crowd, even if you're no longer here. That is apparently a part of the process forever. Your social media account can be flagged from something you did in 2010 to take away a job. And if you're a politician or if you're anyone, they can also go back and rehash things you should have done differently once you're, I guess there's never an escape for being judged for the things we do by social media and whoever else it is in the woke crowd that's out there doing these things. There's no freedom. Just throw out your phone, blow up all your social media, all your electronics, and then hope that when you're no longer here and incapable of defending yourself, that they don't say something terrible about you then. Biden visited some wounded warriors at Walter Reed Hospital. This is a story that's gone viral for a couple reasons. There are also reports now that there are several people that do not want Biden to show up at their 9/11 events and 9/11 kind of memorial things. And it's interesting to see that families and military individuals are not all that pleased to be interacting with the President of the United States right now. And even in this visit to wounded warriors at the Walter Reed Hospital, there are rumors that there were several more interesting conversations or maybe not even conversations, but people who had no interest in being around that person at all. As far as, and these are military people who obviously served, gave for this country, and they don't even want to be around the commander in chief. If nothing speaks more strongly to the conversations that are being had in the public eye about the failure that is Afghanistan, it should be those who have actual experience and are voicing this level of concern. And I do think it's awful as far as the assumption or the desire, whatever you want to call it, for the president to think that he could just go to a place like that and that people should just receive him positively. And obviously, according to the reports I'm seeing, not the case. Got to take a break. A lot more. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Chad will be back after the holiday. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody out there. A lot going on in the world. Of course, some of the conversation still revolving around the Taliban, around the attack that happened in Kabul, and around the reaction of the president when our servicemen were brought back here to this country, and whether or not he checked his watch several times. So the original story, and then actually some of the people who were there said that he checked his watch multiple times throughout the service, throughout the returning of those individuals to our country. And it would be tremendously disrespectful, to say the very least, to think that a president of the United States, who would have probably had met with those family members as well, but would look at his watch during the 45-minute ceremony that is the returning of 11 caskets of service members to our country. Then there was the report, I think it was out there by USA Today and a few other places, that was all a lie, that he didn't check his watch maybe once and at the very end of that event. Now it's changed again. Apparently, the latest rating as far as the fact, whether or not this is true or not, the claim itself that Biden did this, now the latest information says that it happened at least 3 times during the ceremony, that essentially there's still missing context and missing information to make a final decision. But there's several videos, several other pieces of proof out there, photos and whatnot, that demonstrate that the president did not just check his watch once at the end of this, that it happened. I don't know why. I can't fathom the why. Sometimes you read a headline and you think to yourself, and I don't care what political side of the aisle you're on, you're like, this just can't be a thing. Why would anyone do? Why would it matter what time it is or where you had to be or what else? I know you're the president, but why? At that moment then, would you be less focused on that than anything else? And actually, the take in USA Today points out that he put his hand over his heart as well, as if that makes it any better at all. And I hate being a person who just goes, rogue and screams about a thing that maybe might not be as important as others make it sound like it is. But this is not one of those times. The amount of times that this happened, the way in which it happened, the disrespect of it is tremendously, tremendously important to talk about and to be angry about, because it just makes no sense, and it demonstrates maybe a lack of understanding of the role of commander-in-chief, of the responsibility involved in what occurred over the last few weeks there. And I'm okay. I'm going to move on because I'm going to get mad. By the way, not a surprise, but I did see that the approval rating for Biden is now at the lowest point ever. Biden's approval rating sits at 43%, with most of the drop coming thanks to independent voters who are now nowhere near as likely to be happy about the work done by the president. Biden's approval rating fell 10 points from July to August, among independents, 46 to 36. It fell 5 points from Democrats, 90% to 85, and 1 point from Republicans. That would be a 5%, used to be a 6%. But it's things like this. It's demonstrations of just so many complicated, different, I guess, just unbelievable. They say that Trump got a lot of things wrong while in the White House. They say that he got several things wrong. He did a lot of disrespectful things. He tweeted and everything on social media. I don't think Trump ever did that. I don't think he ever checked his watch while he was supposed to be there as the commander-in-chief of the military, honoring those that gave their lives for our country. All right, I'm going to move on. I can't. I have to move on. Michael Jordan has a used pair of underwear that are for sale. This is a real story. A sports memorabilia website, I don't think Mike's trying to make any money off of it, announced a pair of Michael Jordan game-used underwear bearing definitive signs of use, I guess, according to the Post. The bidding has started at $500. I have known some sports collectors, and I'm also a huge fan of Michael Jordan. I don't understand why anyone, sports collector or huge fan of the player like I am, would want something like this. I don't know where you display it. I don't know who you tell, like, look, and now we're going to go down to my man cave, and I have my pair of Michael Jordan boxers framed and available for you to check out on the wall over here. Kind of cool that I purchased those. $500 to me also says that they're not that valuable. I'm not trying to be mean. I know that's an entry-level bid on this kind of thing, but I don't know how high the price will get. I will make sure to revisit this story as often as I can, whenever I can. I just think it's hilarious. And I guess that they maybe they had belonged to that security guard, that guy that was made fun of a little bit in some ways, certainly on social media, but maybe in some ways on the Last Dance documentary, the guy that Michael Jordan was gambling with and whatnot. But maybe they're for sale now because people are upset with his portrayal in that movie. I don't know. Or that TV series. I'm not sure. But it is an interesting thing to be on the market, to say the very least. Good luck trying to sell that. Another man lucked out in finding, this is a British guy, his wedding ring that he had lost. He's 42 years old. He went for a run. He got home from the run. He had no wedding ring. I don't know if maybe, he's not saying some things. I don't know if there's some things that are not being talked about publicly. But so the way that he actually located the ring is he used a app. He used a fitness app to track his run. So he got a metal detector. I think he purchased one online, and then he went back through his entire run with the metal detector, and somehow he found the precious ring just lying there somewhere on the ground. He said he was speechless when he discovered his wedding ring. I think, just personally, and I don't mean to distrust the internet as much as I do, although we all should, that this is all an elaborate lie. I think the guy got home from a run. He didn't have the wedding ring on for who knows what reason. The missus realized and was like, "Where's the ring?" And he goes, "I lost it. I was running and I lost it." And then he concocted the idea. This is just my idea. Don't shoot the messenger. This is just my assumption. He came up with the brilliant idea to buy a metal detector, walk his path, probably with her standing right next to him, like, if we don't find this ring, if the entire path gets walked and it's not here at all, you are so in trouble. And at some point, he probably dropped it from a pocket. I don't know exactly how that last part was executed, but it can't be this way. A wedding ring doesn't fall off while you're running. I don't think that makes any sense. And then even more importantly, the odds of finding it, they seem to be a full-on zero. So I think I've detected, I think I've broken down this story. I'm sure that if I ask anyone in a government role that they would deny, as they do so many other things. And this guy certainly is going to plead the fifth, but his name is Milton Keyes. He's 42. And as I said, at some point, it's now made the news that he discovered his wedding ring. He lost while on a run. You're sticking to that story for life, my friend. A quick break, a lot more. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins, filling in. Happy to have you with us. Chad back after the holiday. I want to just take a second to talk about the stunning reports that keep coming out of the East Coast. The remnants of Hurricane Ida, 45 people have been confirmed dead. I can't even understand some of the things that I'm reading, even as far as those who got trapped but are okay. I saw stories about people that were trapped for 14 hours or something on subway lines, just waiting for some sort of good news, of course, some sort of rescue. It's also crazy to just call this the remnants of Hurricane Ida. I don't know much about the world of meteorology or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know much about the world of weather, but this feels like we could call it something else. It feels, and I know Hurricane Ida wreaked havoc all across Louisiana as well, but the remnants doesn't feel like a powerful enough word to me, as silly as it sounds, to mention that for a second. When we talk about this, it's utterly devastating and shocking. And I do think that maybe that's the aspect of it that has been demonstrated quite a bit is the inability to project this outcome and this sort of thing happening. And even in New York City specifically, where they declared an emergency flood warning the first time ever because of what was happening there. And it's insane to see all the videos, see all the things going on throughout several parts of the East Coast. And I know that there's been a lot of emergency. So it seems like our country as a whole has been hit by Ida in ways that I can't remember. Another storm like that doing that damage to that many locations throughout our country. Shifting gears, another story in the news, certainly not uplifting either in any way. China is apparently going to be funding the Taliban. That's according to one of their spokespeople, saying that their most important partner and someone that represents the fundamental and extraordinary opportunity for us because is ready to invest and rebuild our country. That would be China. It makes no sense to me sometimes that our government doesn't want to do a better job of talking about the differences that we have with a country like that, the ways in which, things just are not as probably comfortable as they feel between that relationship and what they say publicly. And I don't know if it's the ties that Biden, who I hear this all the time, whenever I talk to anybody that's either, politically on one side of this conversation or maybe somebody who's kind of in the middle on this, they do wonder if the reason and the conversations about China specifically from our politicians are due in some way, shape, or form to some of those relationships. And it would be a tremendous risk yet again for us and for our country to overlook things like this. But when you hear the Taliban within days of taking back the country and us ending a war in the most, poor of conditions possible, and then China's already a part of the conversation, that has to give pause to more people, to say the very least. And I haven't touched on this much, but I do still feel when we look at the things as far as the origins of coronavirus go, that the reason that we don't know more, that we're not demanding more information, more transparency from China, is that relationship I'm referencing as well. And whether that is just an acknowledgement that China is a different political power than they were years ago, I don't know, or if it is the unique ties. But I just can't understand either how we're not demanding transparency there. When we look at all the devastation that coronavirus has caused throughout the entirety of our country and throughout the entirety of the world, how is anyone okay with any of the investigations that have occurred so far, and that the end result of almost all of them are, well, we need more information. We need someone to play a little bit more, play well with others, and that's China, and they're not doing it. It's just, it boggles my mind, to say it as simply as possible. All right, I want to move on to this too. Alan Dershowitz was on Newsmax. He did talk about the law in Texas, the abortion law. He said some things, and I know those things are going to cause some feelings for everybody out there. But I think the end result, the legal end result, is actually the most important part of this takeaway.
So what should we be looking at? What's important to know about this?
Well, I think it's so unconstitutional. I don't even know where to begin. The idea of giving individuals the right to enforce the law. I think that even conservative justices, certainly Roberts and certainly I think Kavanaugh, will say that the mechanism that Texas has selected, forgetting about abortion, the mechanism that Texas has selected, allowing individual Budinskis, individual busybodies to say, we don't like what's going on in an abortion clinic. We have nothing to do with it. We don't know the people. We have no knowledge of it, is exactly the same as if two gay people were getting married. And but you say, we don't like gay marriage. And so we're going to interfere. So I think the Supreme Court will strike down that mechanism as in violation of the constitutional obligation of government to enforce the law and not to turn it over to surrogate busybody.
That is the last point that I think is the most powerful of all those. And the example is fine for whoever wants to have a specific example. This can be applied to so many different things, though, in the world of how we move forward as far as some of this kind of legislation goes. And I just want to play that part again.
Constitutional obligation of government to enforce the law and not to turn it over to surrogate busybody.
Yeah, this is going to cause tremendous chaos, I think, as far as even reports and even maybe, lawsuits that are filed that are inaccurate. And also, and I used this example before, say an Uber or a Lyft driver gives a ride that they're unaware of where they're going. They have no real concept, or maybe they're somehow tricked to go somewhere close by. Can they be sued with no knowledge of what they were doing? And obviously the law kind of opens up the avenue for that. And as Dershowitz points out via one example, if this is the kind of law that can take effect, what is to stop us from doing it in several other ways? What is to stop certain governments or certain political power, political leaders from making a decision that, hey, okay, climate change is now so important to these people in this one country that we can go ahead, or in this one state, that we can go ahead and change the way in which we police this, the way we enforce this, pass a law and force people to do a certain thing. And I know that the emotions are different. And as a person that had talked about before being a Catholic, I know that religion plays a component into the argument on abortion. But obviously, there is a tremendous amount of legal obstacles and legal conversation that needs to go in place before something like this law. And it wasn't ruled constitutional, by the way. That is not something that the Supreme Court actually chose to rule on. They just allowed more time to take, and the law to take effect, but more time to take place before any inevitable ruling comes out. So anybody that feels as though you're on one side of the aisle or the other on this conversation, and even if you support choice, or if you're pro-life, I feel like the more valuable conversation, however horrible it sounds to say it that way right now, is actually about the way in which the law is executed and what that means for all kinds of things moving forward. There was a question asked to the press secretary about this law and about how the president can actually support a law like this when the president himself is a Catholic. And Jen Psaki got quite upset about that question, and the answer she provided was fairly interesting, in just saying, that the reporter had never experienced a pregnancy, so how could the reporter really have any take? Is kind of what it is. And obviously, that rings to a lot of us to be the kind of thing that we're told we're not allowed to do anymore. You can't judge people. You can't tell people who they are, what they are. I know that that's a take that social media had, however fair it was, but it's just something that's certainly a part of the conversation. She assumed that he wasn't a birth-giving person, is what I'm trying to say. And how did she know that he wasn't a birth-giving person? I'm not sure. This is my favorite audio today, just shifting gears again. Chris Mad Dog Russo is very upset that ESPN is going to require people to broadcast from the U.S. Open wearing masks. It makes no sense as far as broadcasting goes to try to do a mask and also tell people what's going on into a microphone. But Mad Dog had quite the rant.
Did you know if you were a broadcaster today on ESPN, if you did the matches, because it was indoor because of the rain, and this is the New York City rule about the health protocols with COVID, indoor, Ash and Armstrong were closed, that you had to wear a mask? So if you called, how the hell can you call a tennis match at a 23,000 seat stadium with a mask on? I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't want to get into mask, no mask, this, that, and the other, because then we're going to get into this political debate, and that's not what this show's about. But that's ridiculous. And you know why it's ridiculous? Because the player box people didn't have masks on. So in other words, the guys who were calling a match, male and female, got to wear a mask. Yet the people sitting in the players' box rooting for their person to play the match this afternoon, Hannah's people and whoever she played, I forget who she played, their people, no masks on.
I love the demonstration of the hypocrisy that is that situation where you have some very special fans that are allowed to be mask-free, but you do not have the people calling the game take their masks off while they're doing their job.
I'm not sure if the Holland people have the masks, but the other opponent had the masks on. But, since the USTA's got no guts, go there and if you're going to make ESPN wear the masks, make the folks sitting there courtside rooting for the tennis players today, make them wear masks.
Come on.
Why they don't have to wear masks? So the announcer does and the other, come on, be consistent. Be consistent. That's de Blasio. He's lost.
I love that last part of the audio, too. And again, this is applied to pretty much any conversation you have anywhere.
Come on, be consistent. Be consistent. That's de Blasio. He's lost.
He's lost. All right, I got to take a break. A lot more. Greg Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. Chad is back after the holiday. College football is back. There's been a lot of college football games. Did I watch UCF? Did I watch Boise State? I did. I watch part of that game.
Bachmeier and Boise State. Can he get the throw off? It's going to be short. And UCF is going to get a season opening win and a program opening win for Gus Malzahn. What a comeback it was.
It was a heck of a game, 36-31. It was a comeback. And more important than that, specific to that one game, is the fact that college football is now a thing again, and I'm tremendously happy about it. And I wanted to play that palate cleanser before I play all this audio as well, because this is much less happy.
Breaking news this morning, the August jobs report is out, and it is a lot worse than we thought. The U.S. economy adding just 235,000 jobs in August, with the unemployment rate now at 5.2%. But that is a lot lower than the 720,000 jobs we expected. It follows several months of gains, and now we have clarity on the Delta variant's impact as we try to get back to normal.
Yeah, and also the decision-making as far as the Delta variant and what we're doing in certain parts of our country. That's not the only place. That's MSNBC. Let's go ahead and check another one.
Whatever the culprit, no denying this is a disappointing jobs report. And again, to go back to that point, leisure and hospitality, the previous couple of months, we were like 400,000 a month. This month, zero in that sector.
Yeah, it's concerning, Connell. The bottom line, no matter how you look at it, is that the economy is slowing, and we have to figure out why that is.
We have to figure out what could possibly be causing this other than just fear of the Delta variant. Here's one more just crystallized version of it. This is from CNBC, a panelist there, saying that half of small businesses are really struggling in a unique way.
And what it says is that for various reasons, there just isn't labor supply in America right now. We've got 10.1 million job openings. Half the small businesses in America have jobs they can't fill. So this is really a labor supply constraint.
There's a labor supply constraint. So we're saying that there's not a lot of jobs created. There's so many jobs available that aren't being taken. The unemployment rate did dip a little bit from 5.4 to 5.2%. But as far as expectations go, 235,000 jobs is way, way off any mark that we had. And you start to discuss the options and the reasons as to why. And it is obvious. I mean, if you all just sat down and we all talked about it in the most basic of terms, which is what I'm capable of, and also just kind of looking at the society we're in right now, if you walk up and talk to anybody about Delta variant, I think you get one of two reactions. You get the reaction, I'm so sick of this, everything's over, like we're done, we need to stop talking about it, we need to move on. Or you get the person that's already afraid again. You get the person like I met the other day that can't even get on an elevator with me when I'm wearing a mask because they're not okay. I was indoors, I live in Illinois, you got to do that there. But I wear my mask and they're like, nah, I got to wait for the next one. I can't be next to that person for 30 seconds. That's part of the problem. And I think it's having a different impact in so many parts of our society. I think that there probably are a lot of people that are afraid to go back to work in certain professions. There are a lot of other people that had enhanced employment benefits that are now, of course, ending. So there's a lot of reasons why I guess we would see this tremendous amount of jobs open and a lot not being taken. There is also this unique caveat and a take that I've heard a couple places, is that because of the last year and a half, the way in which it opened a lot of people's eyes to, just what life is and how much of a halt your life can be brought to. There's a lot of people that aren't interested in jobs that don't really have the future they want them to have. However idyllic this sounds, however realistic this sounds, there are a lot of people, certainly younger professionals, that just want to be doing whatever it is that they desire to do and not something they need to do more for the sake of, paying bills. And I do think in that world, kind of merging that thought process into what we've seen as far as enhanced unemployment and whatnot, there have been a lot of opportunities in a lot of places to really focus on what you want and not what you need to be doing to survive. And that, I think, will change a little bit more here, but it'll be intriguing to see. Certainly so many expectations missed here as far as this job report goes. That'll be intriguing to see how we continue to evolve moving forward and what the government reaction is to what I think is a pretty strong demonstration that there are failings in the way in which we're even communicating a lot of things, and we need to think differently there. All right, I want to shift gears. I like this audio a lot. It's viral audio of an alligator seeing and eating a drone, and the people just freak out on social media when they see this occur, much like you would. Here we go.
Yeah, come on, George.
Oh,
Think it's food? Oh my God! What are you doing, George? Don't eat that, George. No, George, no.
Again, I feel like we could use this reaction, maybe even for the jobs report. If you replace George with the jobs report, no, don't have this jobs report, America. No.
Oh my God! What are you doing, George? Don't eat that,
No.
George. No.
Those are our jobs. Don't take them. I don't know why. The simplicity of that moment entertains me so very much, but it definitely does. Viral video, and certainly just something that's a bit of an escape from all the serious things. In other news, I saw this story also. It takes us quite a while to recover from bad days of sleep. This has been noted a lot during the time of the pandemic or just in general, that people don't sleep as well. That maybe even after a jobs report like that or some other news out there in the world, you're going to struggle to find that perfect amount of sleep at night or even a valuable amount. But according to new research, if you even have just 10 days in a row of bad sleep, you need an entire week to recover from that. The study shows that participants' brain activity had not returned to normal even after 7 full days of normal sleep, after having concentration, memory, and other challenges from having reduced amounts of sleep. So I guess, however anxiety-inducing it is to even say that out there, that's my PSA attempt of the day. If everything else is not going great in a lot of areas here as far as our economy and other things are concerned, news of the day is certainly not fun most of the time, then what you really need to do is make sure you get good sleep, because if you're not getting good sleep, it's going to cause a lot of impact in a lot of ways, and you're not going to be able to recover from it. Man, this doesn't sound anywhere near as uplifting as I was hoping it sounded. All right, I got to take a break. A lot more. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. The jobs report is out, and it is awful. U.S. employers added 235,000 jobs, way below expectations. We can check in with Biden for a comment on that.
Mine's going blank now. What's the song that is played where everybody is on the chair? Everybody, what? I can't remember it. Anyway, and that's the song that was played. So, I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Okay, that's audio from yesterday. He's talking about his daughter's wedding, and he couldn't remember that. But he did speak today about the jobs report. Biden, go ahead. Tell us what happened. President Biden, please inform us as to what we need to do better here.
Today's report shows that the steps we've taken, passing the rescue plan and vaccinating 175 million people, make our economy capable of growing and adding jobs even in the face of this continuing Delta surge. A strength in our economy very different from the way things were last winter. There's no question the Delta variant is why today's job report isn't stronger. I know people were looking, and I was hoping for a higher number. But next week, I'll lay out the next steps that we're going to need to combat the Delta variant.
I'll lay out the next steps. I'm going to spend a lot more of your money, is essentially what he's saying. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to hope that maybe some checks for everybody, kind of fix this situation. And if they don't, then I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to call in my expert, consultant, professional people that I surround myself with, being your president, people like those responsible for the tremendous success that was the Afghanistan withdrawal. And we're going to come up with something even better, which is probably even more checks, a little bit more from Biden.
To address some of those fears and concerns, I want to talk about how we'll further protect our schools, our businesses, our economy, and our families from the threat of Delta. As we continue to fight the Delta variant,
to be honest, the fact that he says Delta variant so many times and has the conversation the way he does, I do wonder, and I wonder this quite often now, if just our conversations are broken, if just what we're seeing out there. I know that there's several reports about a lot of jobs that are not filled, a lot of available jobs. Half of small business owners can't fill their positions at all as far as this goes. But maybe a demonstration here is employers being afraid. Maybe a lot of employers who would continue to create more jobs or however this, exactly is getting impacted by Delta variant are just picking up on that societal problem that we're all struggling with in such a unique way, which is not being able to put this behind us. He mentioned masks relatively quickly within this statement. He was there to talk about something else. He was not there to talk about schools. He was not there to talk about those things. He was there to talk about only our economy. And yet you continue to pivot to the talking points that are this issue and how we address this and how we address that. Inflation, of course, is a huge problem that doesn't get a lot of attention from our current president. It just makes less and less sense to me the more, because most American people, most people you talk to right now just want to be done. They just want the coronavirus pandemic behind us. And I know that doesn't force the numbers in hospitals to go down. This doesn't change the impact that the health part of that conversation is actually having on society. But I think that the leadership part, the conversational part, could be different. And I'm not encouraging Biden to do what he encourages other political leaders to do, to lie. That's the way that he says you get around these things, like he told the former president in Afghanistan, just go ahead and tell people the Taliban's not doing that great. The answer is not to lie, but the answer is maybe to talk about something else, maybe to have a different conversation or provide hope in a more unique way than this way, because the feeling that this is something that's not going to end and that it's impacting our lives, our society in so many ways is reinforced all the time by the way in which these conversations happen. And just as an example again there, Biden asked to respond or chose to respond to the jobs report quickly after it was released today, and his conversation immediately dovetails into how we protect kids in school, and he mentioned masks. It makes no sense. The world's fastest accelerating roller coaster had to close. This was due to several reports of broken bones, just totally shifting gears. Sometimes it feels like the news of the day might break all our bones, and I guess at least somewhere in the world this was happening. The Fuji Q Highland roller coaster had a safety overhaul after several people that were on the ride and told that the ride is the fastest in the world, it's incredible, wound up being quite a bit more harmed than they thought they'd be by the roller coaster itself. Currently, the casual relationship between injuries and amusement machines has not yet been confirmed. That is according to, that's the most Biden answer to that. Actually, you know what? Let's draw a parallel between those two things. Catastrophic jobs report. Biden goes out there and says that we got more solutions. Don't worry about it. Now let me talk about masks. Catastrophic amount of injuries on a roller coaster, and the people involved release a statement that say that's a casual relationship. We're still looking into it. We're not completely sure what broke those bones on those roller coasters. It might have been something else. It might not have been us at all. Maybe we did a good job on those roller coasters, and really the broken bones are the best we could do here. That would be the Biden answer. They did wind up saying the release from the theme park said that we would like to express our deepest concerns to the injured customers and caused a great deal of inconvenience to them, but we will endeavor to investigate the cause under the guidance of the government, which they're doing there now. I do think that's tremendously. This is a great demonstration of just what is the problem for so many people and so many things right now is you can't even take the blame when you're a company that has a roller coaster that's breaking people's bodies. You're like, we'll figure it out. We're going to do some long investigating into this, and we'll get back to you very soon. In other news, 53% of Americans say that they can't complete 10 push-ups. 36% admit that they can't do more than 5. It is unclear how many people said they can do 0 push-ups. Your fitness goal for 2021 might just be to see how many push-ups you can do. 17% of Americans said that they can do between 6 and 10, but a majority cannot do 10 push-ups. And I don't know if that just means we haven't been going to the gym because it was closed, because a lot of people obviously didn't let you do most of your life for quite some time there, or if this is another just kind of demonstration of something that was hurting. Maybe it's not a new issue. Maybe this is something that had existed for some time. I'm not sure. But it is interesting to look at these different kind of signals and signs of the way in which we're all just living our lives right now in this moment. One other quick one, and this is just some audio that I'd like to play because I was vastly entertained by it. You can't even take sick days in the world of media, I guess. A fill-in host for Fox News, his name is Ray Arroyo, showed up the other night on television to do a handoff between him and Hannity, and it was very interesting as far as the likelihood of this being a solid hour of television based on the voice of this person.
Ray Arroyo, filling in for Laura tonight. Ray, how are you, sir?
Thank you, Sean. I'm a little froggy tonight. Listen to this voice.
What happened to your voice?
I don't know, but we'll
You're filling in for Laura, and you got a sore throat.
I know.
I'm sorry. It sounds. Let me guess. It sounds worse than you feel.
Yes, I feel great.
Okay.
We'll get
By the way.
You know, that could have also been the way that Biden had addressed the jobs report.
Yes, I feel great.
Yeah, I feel great. Right? That's fine. We got more solutions coming down the road. Everything's I wish that's what happened, actually. Ray Arroyo, I'm now going to point to him and ask him what he thinks of the jobs report.
Yes, I feel great.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Okay. By the way, it happens to me. Anytime I get any sickness, it goes right for the vocal cords. Hang in there, my friend. I've been there.
Thank you. I'm Raymond Arroyo, in for Laura Ingraham tonight. This is the Ingraham Angle from New York City. Forgive this.
Forgive this. That also might be the nicest way to handle any of these things now. Maybe you just say at the end of whatever you say, and forgive this. By the way, everything that we've said right now may or may not have worked out in your favor, and obviously the news of the day is not great, so please forgive this. Quick break, a lot more. Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. I saw this report out of the New York Post. People are getting married on the anniversary of 9/11, and for some reason, there had to be conversations about this. I think I could have guessed this answer, but this is the answer. Because so many venues are overbooked because of everything that has been, all the cancellations and changes over the last year and a half or so that we definitely felt like we were getting out of for a while. And now, for whatever reason, certainly you start to feel like maybe some of that stuff is coming back. But because of that, some couples who were just more desperate, I guess, than not to get married sooner rather than later have decided to go ahead and do it on September 11th of this year. And this is obviously because, as I said, that day would be widely available a lot of places. My reaction to the story, and I thought the Post did a good job of interviewing some of the couples who were actually, going to do this and wanted to be public for doing this, and saying that they just, felt that way, that there weren't a lot of options, or maybe they were reluctant, but eventually got talked into it, make the day their own, I guess you'd say. I wouldn't do that. I can't express enough that I would just wait. I don't care how much longer it is to wait. And I'm not trying to judge you for the decisions you make, but that's just a day that I would not want to have a celebration that I would look back on unless, it's something like you were born on that day and you can't fix it. This is a decision you can make, and one that I would definitely go another road. But it was an interesting headline, an interesting story out there that people are choosing that. And if that is you, and it's just because you felt like if you waited even any more, and especially with these stories and the conversations about the Delta variant now, maybe you did think that another huge lockdown of some kind was coming, then I guess that can make some sense. But again, I would go the other way. There's also this viral story of a woman going through the airport in a bikini, which in and of itself, I guess, is kind of an interesting story and one worth talking about just a little bit. She was there to catch a Spirit Airlines flight. And when I think someone talked to her, as far as news organizations go, she did say that she had come from a pool party and she had a scheduled flight just a few hours from then. So no opportunity to change. But what's hilarious about this, the reason to talk about it on radio at all, is she is wearing a mask. The woman is wearing a bikini and a mask at the airport. It has gone viral. Mask mandates in effect definitely would have meant she could have paid a fine for not having it on. But how fantastic, how great of a representation of the society we live in right now than that. That image, which, as I said, has gone viral on social media, of a woman trying to catch a Spirit Airlines flight. I can't. There's so many things about this I love. By the way, it first went viral because Humans of Spirit Airlines, which is apparently an Instagram account, put it out there. And, she just, you got to do what you got to do. And the fact that the mask is on just demonstrates that, hey, you're being as careful as possible. In other news, Cameo. If you don't know what Cameo is, by the way, real quick, I guess I can explain it. I think a lot of people know at this point. But Cameo.com allows you to pay an amount of money that a celebrity comes up with to them for a digital message that they would send you on the service. I think the celebrities can come up with any amount they want. And then based on, what it is you're asking them to say or do, maybe the price could go up a little bit. They put out a list of the highest earners as far as Cameo is concerned for the last year, and it's a lot of names that maybe you don't expect. You would assume the big name people are people that you'd see on this list, but actually it's not. Ed Brown, a.k.a. Big Ed from the 90 Day franchise, is the number one earner on this, $69 to get him to do something for you. A actor who was on Glee and Wizards of Waverly Place, his name is Josh Sussman. He's second on this list. I can't find a name that I actually know terribly well on the top 20 of this list. And I don't know if that says that I'm not in touch with a lot of the celebrities of today or not. Number 4 on the list is the soup Nazi from Seinfeld, Larry Thomas, he's there. One of the actors on The Office, not one of the more famous ones now, but his name is Brian Baumgartner. He's number 3 on this list. It's just about Colin Mockery, who is a name that I actually do know from Whose Line Is It Anyway, a stand-up comedian, is number 7. But these are the highest earning celebrities, quote unquote, on Cameo.com. Andy Dick is on this list at number 19. It's really, really interesting to think that these are the people that are doing the best, maybe because their prices aren't as high as some of the bigger celebrities. If you go to that website and you look at any of the advertisements for it, they're definitely trying to tell you that the people that you're going to get a greeting from are tremendously well known. But I guess that also makes sense if you're a big fan of something specifically. If you're a big fan, say, of The Office, and you can get a actor, someone from there on, then maybe that's enough. Maybe that makes sense to all involved. I'm not really sure. I want to shift gears to something just a tad more serious for a second, just because I should do it before we take a break here. I do think that this continued conversation we're having about the Taliban, about the way in which we exited the country, could be much simpler and a lot different if politicians would just answer questions and tell the truth, and they choose not to do it. I will play a little bit of audio, an example, Jen Psaki avoiding a Taliban-related question as far as some of the horrible things already going on, again, in that country.
Thank you. And then I want to get to the Taliban and questions of whether it's keeping its promise for amnesty. There was some reporting from the BBC some color from that story. Since the Taliban came to power, one man said they haven't stopped killing. A few days ago, this person said they killed 12 members of special forces in Kandahar, 3 soldiers in Jalalabad as well. The Taliban took them out of their homes and shot them. Given this kind of reporting that we're hearing, is it possible that our reliance on the Taliban to keep their word in terms of our evacuation is misplaced for going back on things like the amnesty promise?
Well, first, I don't have any confirmation of those details. I'm not questioning the BBC's reporting. I just don't have any confirmation of them from the U.S. government.
I know that is a jarring transition from the things that I was just talking about, but it keeps eating away at me that we just don't have any honest conversations about any of this stuff. And I know that maybe that's politics as usual, and that's not all that surprising. But in this scenario, in the world in which so many have seen the chaos that was all of this process, and now the story's out of it, why doubt the BBC? Why would Jen Psaki not be capable of answering a question involving something, a news organization that is that well respected, and stories that make sense? It's just, it's odd to think that we're where we are right now on so many of these conversations in so many of these ways, and that our White House press secretary can plead the fifth, and that'll probably be the end of that conversation. They probably won't bring it up again, or she'll just say, I still am not sure. Check in with me later, or check with someone else that might know. I got to take a break. A lot more. Craig Collins filling in on The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins filling in. I want to do a super fast recap of the news of the last few days. Ongoing conversations about the withdrawal from from Afghanistan, the power of the Taliban, maybe Chinese funding of the Taliban. Pretty terrible story right there. Lots of very bad things that have occurred, and certainly a lot more valuable conversations need to be had about who's responsible. Obviously, we've seen a lot of other stories in the news challenging to talk about the conversations about the Texas law, and then the obvious decision, or the not so obvious decision, but the reaction to the decision, the obvious reaction is what I was trying to say, from the Supreme Court, leaving that law in effect at least for a little while waiting to rule on it later, is a conversation that's complicated. And then, of course, jobs report, those numbers are terrible. I will shift gears for just a second from those three options to Jen Psaki talking to a male reporter about the Texas ban, the Texas law, This reporter actually often asks about Biden's Catholic faith in accordance to some of the decisions that the Democrats make in the world of politics. Jen Psaki was not having it the other day, and the reaction she gave is actually fairly interesting to me, because it says a lot about the emotion or the anger as far as some of this conversation goes for so many. And I'm not saying that I'm in support of the way Jen Psaki handled herself. I actually have, as much of social media did, a reaction to the problem. But first, the audio.
Following up on the Texas law, why does the president support abortion when his own Catholic faith teaches abortion is morally wrong?
Well, he believes that it's a woman's right, it's a woman's body, and it's her choice.
Why does the president, who does he believe then should look out for the unborn child?
He believes that it's up to a woman to make those decisions, and up to a woman to make those decisions with her doctor. I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced...
Whoa! Lots of things were just determined in that sentence. First, that he's not a birth-giving person. And second, that it's only women that give birth.
Nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult...
I don't know why this happens often with Jen Psaki, why every so often she does and says something a little bit differently, especially to some members of the reporting community. And certainly I'm kidding about my reaction to how woke you got to be in today's society, but it's just so intriguing to me that was more important than the rest of the conversation. And I will say this, something I've said before as a Catholic in that conversation. I do believe in, this is an odd way I'm just going to do it. I do believe in the difference or the separation of church and state. And I believe that because I value getting to prove my faith to myself, getting to prove my faith to those who are not asking me to. And certainly, whatever your faith may be, a lot of teachings say that human beings are flawed. And I'm not actually comparing that thought to any specific news story either. I'm just talking about faith more generalized for a second, if we can try that. So we do make mistakes. I don't like the idea, and I'm, of course, happy in some very extreme examples, but the idea of government having to force me into more and more of my faith's teachings in order for me to follow them. And I'm not saying that a lot of people are saying that. I just believe that it's better in the world, is if you're a Catholic or what have you, for you to have that opportunity to live the life that you're being asked to live by your faith, as opposed to being forced to do it. So when the religious conversation comes into this Texas law debate, I do often think to myself that I've always been happy to consider church and state so different, as of course they need to be for a myriad of reasons, because it makes the faith, in my opinion, feel more meaningful. That's not to say that there are some things that don't make sense in both. Murder is wrong on all fronts as far as the Catholic Church is concerned and other things are concerned. So there's certainly some examples where parallels can be crossed. Anyway, I want to move on. New York Yankees announcer John Sterling. I'm just going to do happier stories. I just need to do happier stories now. New York Yankees announcer John Sterling was pulled from a car by a fellow broadcaster when everything started to get very bad in the area in New York. I guess John Sterling was one of those who got caught, and someone was capable of getting him out. That was actually another reporter with WFAN, Ricardo, who was capable of being on the scene. Ricky Ricardo is his name. He is a Spanish play-by-play man, and he was there to make it a much better version of that story. In other news, just shifting gears again, pizza is a healthy breakfast, more so than cereal. This is according to nutritionists. If you're going to pull for, that unhealthy version of cereal and that whatever it is, the other things you're going to have that morning, you might want to consider the full food product that is a slice of pizza. Obviously, you get several different valuable items in your day, depending on what toppings are on it, too. But I thought that was hilarious that someone in the world of news, someone in the world of science would search this, and then someone in the world of news would report on it. A New York-based nutritionist, Chelsea Amer, actually told quite a few different organizations that if you just break down the components, the amount of sugar you're getting in one versus the other, the amount of protein, just the best way to start your day. That best way is apparently via pizza, which I just find tremendously, tremendously fun. And then one other feel-good story, probably feel good to a lot of people, the fact that Abba is reuniting. I will play a little bit of their music. Abba is coming back, brand new music, brand new tour, hitting a stage near you soon.
And now you see another me, I've been reloaded there. I'm fired up, don't shut me down. I'm like a dream within a dream that's been decoded. I'm fired up, I'm not, don't shut me down. I'm not the one you knew, I'm thousand and combined. And I'm asking you to have an open mind.
There you go. That's the Abba you know and love. That's the Abba you remember. They are back. They look a little different in the photos. I actually really enjoyed Jon Stewart's recent promo for his upcoming TV show. He just made several jokes about how some time has passed from the last time we've seen Jon Stewart. I know his politics and those things are things that not everybody will like, and certainly there's a lot of things he'll say that I probably won't agree with. But just the humor of being someone that is out of the public eye for a while and then back and not looking exactly the same, I thought leaning into that was quite nice. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that the photos I saw of the band, some things had changed. In other news, there's a story out there about a man who left a really odd tip for a woman. He gave her a certain amount of money, a pretty decent amount of money, after eating at a diner. And a lot of these stories are actually fairly feel-good. Because in those stories, when you give a large tip, the reason that you're giving it is because, you're trying to help out. But the woman actually said that she'd prefer not to not to keep this money because the man essentially hit on her. He wrote something a little bit inappropriate. I'm not going to say it here about her body. And then he gave her $1,000 on a $128.89 purchase at this restaurant. And then he also provided his phone number. He then finally signed it in one of the more creepy ways out of anything I've ever seen. He signed it as the master. So I don't even know. Maybe you can't even actually use this check. Maybe you can't even actually cash or get the processed credit card information here because he didn't even write his name. He just wrote more information that probably creeped her the heck out. I don't know why people get into these worlds too, I guess, for just a second to talk about it, where, you go viral enough times in a good way. Maybe this guy's even seen stories like that, like, oh, you leave a big tip at a restaurant and people think things are great. And then all of a sudden someone does this and now the whole thing is ruined for everybody. And I would agree with her that maybe you shouldn't take the money, or maybe you should. Maybe there's a scenario where the guy offered to give you $1,000 and then be a creep. You never have to talk to him again. But the money is well-deserved for that interaction. Maybe the $1,000 is an appropriate tip, I'm guessing, for what was probably the rest of that day and the rest of handling that customer at the restaurant. I will take a break. A lot more coming up. This is Craig Collins on the Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
This is the Chad Benson Show. My name is Craig Collins, filling in. Thrilled to be with you. Chad is back after the holiday. There is going to be a lot of complications in the world of traveling over the holiday weekend, so be as safe as possible if you are doing any of that. Certainly, there's going to be challenges for those who are unvaccinated as well, and for anyone that would do something like choose not to wear a mask. There's some news out there that I really enjoy for a very selfish reason, and today has been such a heavy news day that I'd rather talk about some of these sillier things, if you'll bear with me for just a second. And I have to actually tell you a story. So my wife is born and raised in Mexico, and there is something that I learned early on in my relationship that is unique to women in her family, or maybe women from certain parts of the country. And it's, if you get very mad at your husband for any reason, you might throw a shoe at them. It's not that you punch or hit them, and it's not that you whip it with tremendous force, but every so often, to the surprise of several people around me and myself, I could be hit by a shoe or a flip-flop, a chancla, as it were. I saw this research about octopuses. This is such a deep dive, and yet I'm so entertained by it. Apparently, when they get mad at just men, this is female octopuses, they throw things at them. This is something they found both in nature, and they found while studying it. It's actually something they've been studying since 2015, which makes me just tremendously happy. And I do start to envision maybe several of the scientists as just other husbands who've been playfully or otherwise hit with things, just wondering if anywhere else in life this sort of thing occurs. And the answer is absolutely yes, it does. In the world of octopuses, this is something they see. And it's just, by the way, it's not like all of them. That's maybe what entertains me the most. And this is such an odd topic to be talking about, but I just can't tell you more about how bad the jobs report is, about the fact that what's going on in the Taliban, what's going on in Afghanistan regarding the Taliban just makes no sense. There's so many things in the world right now that are confusing. Certainly the conversations, and I should not just keep recapping them like this, but why not? Certainly the conversations going on as far as the Supreme Court lack of decision, because I'm going to touch on that one more time just real quickly. And I see all these hot takes all over social media, and it's a big, big thing. Everyone is talking about the law in Texas and the Supreme Court's decision the other day, but essentially is still a pause in a lot of ways. I know that the law will take effect, and I know that for the next however long that lasts will be a time to have very valuable conversations in the state of Texas, and maybe even laws and challenges legally that'll happen there. But we're still a month or so away from having more context to these kind of things. All right, back to silly things, back to more fun things. 30% of people have done something called the triple screen, which is almost sort of what I'm doing right now, the triple topic. But the triple screen is where you sit there, you got the television on, you're like, all right, that's good. I'm sort of distracted or entertained by that, but I have to do something else. You turn on the computer. Maybe this is when you were working from home. Maybe a lot of people found that, all right, you got to have the distraction in the background, but then the work done. And then the phone goes off, or somehow the phone is affected. And so then you're doing three things at the exact same time, and you don't know what you're paying attention to at all. And the reason that this is so intriguing to me is because this is when I get hit by a shoe. Just trying to wrap this back and make it full circle. This is absolutely the moment when the wife would walk into the room and be like, what are you doing? What are you paying attention to? What is going on? And my answer is all of it. I think, multitask to an extent. Actually, you know what? I like that as a social media question. If anyone out there wants to answer that question for me, if you've ever triple screened in your life before, and a lot of people have, would you say that you were paying attention to in some amount to all three of those things? Because I would say that I was. In other news, 66% of Americans have a very strong opinion as far as a water preference goes. These are people that believe that they can taste the difference between tap water and bottled water, which science seems to disagree with. 69% of people say that they prefer bottled water to tap because it just looks nicer. 37% of those couldn't really tell you a reason why, which I thought was interesting. 54% of people in a survey about water, which means that a lot of people were bored and everyone needed to find a way to waste their time, said that they will only drink tap water, but only if it's in their own home, which I thought was interesting too. And then 36% that said they will always end up refilling a plastic bottle several times over for the tap. Well, it's really amusing to me for just a second to think about how prevalent bottled water is in our society at all, and how a study like that can come out and give me an opportunity to talk about it, because it is ridiculous. It is kind of the silliest of things that we all buy so frequently now. And it's just, I don't know, the trick of the putting it in the store and making it feel healthier than all the other things because it's water, and us, for whatever reason, just throwing cash at it. And then maybe even having a preference as far as brand goes, which it says might also exist here, is just insane. Although I do think it also might be a nice career opportunity for me when this radio thing doesn't work out. I can just go and sell water, and I'll obviously make a pretty decent living at it based on the latest information. This came out. I don't know how we discovered this, to be honest, but in an interview with a longtime manager at a McDonald's, and I don't know if this person can be trusted. I'm curious about it. They talked about some of the characters that you might have remembered from the McDonald's commercials, characters like Grimace, and Grimace is apparently supposed to be an actual specific object. He's supposed to be a taste bud in your mouth. So at some point, McDonald's was deciding how they, entice you to eat their food. And they're like, all right, we'll come up with characters. We got Ronald McDonald. We got the Hamburglar. These all make sense. And someone in that room was like, what about taste buds? We eat these things. We consume the food. Why don't we have a character that's just a giant version of something that's ridiculously little? And so that's what he actually is. I can't say that I actually truly believe that. I feel like at some point I'm going to find out that this is a Babylon Bee story or something else. But apparently Grimace, the intention behind the guy is that he's supposed to just be a taste bud. And you tell me whether you think that is accurate. Also, you can go to our social media pages to get that done. One last story, and then I'm out of here. One last story that I also thought was an intriguing escape. I guess that's kind of the intention of this segment right now from the news of the day. A 24-year-old woman, a dancer in Los Angeles, complained after having a medical procedure. She had a procedure that was intent on reducing a certain area of her body. She tried to make that one part, that upper area, a little bit smaller. She tried to go from an E cup to a C cup. I think that's the best way to describe it. And apparently, shortly after the success of the operation, she realized that things were going the other way. It failed. The operation, for whatever reason, didn't take. And at 24 years old, she was growing back her breasts. And apparently, it's something that I guess might be possible. Some people have said that this could happen. She paid $10,000 for the reduction surgery, but is already back to the size she used to be at. I do want to ask whoever is in her life whatever person she's in a relationship with, if they are happy or sad about this news. But this woman who went viral on social media said that she's going to try it again, go for operation number 2 to hopefully finally cure the problem. And maybe she needs to stop drinking the bottled water. I've heard that could be an issue. Anyway, this is Craig Collins filling in on the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.